Oh, I got mine right here. I should put mine on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 130. Can't believe it's 130 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. We're broadcasting live on the Area 51 Sports Network, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, as well as the Terminal City FC Twitter account. So Joshua Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek, as per usual, talking all things soccer and bit of a mixed week for the Vancouver Whitecaps over the weekend. 50th anniversary match had all the alumni out. Well, not all, but most of them. The festivities.
A good number.
Yeah, good number. Celebrate
except for JD Merritt standing all alone.
Yeah, good to see him back in the building though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was a game where that game is one of those games where, man, they should have won. Out of all those, man, they should have won.
You know what? It was one of the more dominant displays that you will see from the Whitecaps. Also playing a team that, at least for the entire second half, just sat back. Right?
Yeah.
Put every player behind the ball. But whether it was clinical finishing, whether it was the fact that it was tough to penetrate inside the box, whether it was, and I don't want to use excuses of referees, but, I understand people that might feel a little bit hard done by. It just didn't go the Whitecaps' way. And it's funny because this was a game in where they had the most possession out of any game so far this season and the highest number of shots.
Yeah, the shots were 20-4.
Yeah.
In favor of the Whitecaps. I think, don't remember the exact number. I think at least 9 or 10 were on target.
Whitecaps had 24 shots, 6 on target.
Yeah, 6 on target.
Yeah.
And Austin
possession was north of 66%.
Yeah, and like you said, second half especially, Austin were content with just getting the draw, and that's what happened.
Yeah, it was... I wouldn't say it was frustrating because it was actually still a very, very fascinating game to watch. Sometimes you get these 0-0 draws and you're still glued to what's happening. Especially when you're watching either, a goalkeeper battle or, just defensive excellence. This game didn't really seem to have either of that because Takaoka wasn't really pressured all that much. He had to make a couple of good saves, including a decent one towards the end. So he stayed alert, which is good. The back three, simple job, clearing their lines. It just, I don't know what it was. It was just that final touch of trying to put something behind Stuver. And Stuver, to his credit, did quite well.
He did very well.
I think the Whitecaps played a role in making him look well. A lot of the shots, he didn't really have to get down low. He didn't really have to move. A lot of them were kind of right in the chest. But you know what? If you don't take a shot at all, you're not going to have a chance, right?
Right. And yeah, the Whitecaps just dominated possession. They were moving the ball well. And their best shots ended up missing the net. Like in the second half, Ryan Gauld stole the ball from the defender, but just went over the bar. And then there was a Fafa Pico, earlier, Fafa Pico diving header. You thought it was in, but it just missed.
I thought it was in. From my angle, that was in. And the thing is that's when he should have had. He came in, he ghosted in behind the center back that was on the far post. No one saw him. No one. And I get it. Control off the diving header is not the easiest thing to do. But man, from my angle, that was in. I was half writing my story on it until I realized it was just the net waving from being hit on the outside.
Where are we sitting? It looked like it went in and out, but it did not go in. And overall, like, a lot to like about the way the Whitecaps played in this game. And sure, they could have gotten more. Like that first, Ryan Gauld did score, but it was called off by VAR because apparently there's a handball from Fafa Pico.
What's your thoughts?
I don't know. It's kind of the angles that were given weren't the greatest because they
True.
were from behind,
Well,
and
and
it's
that's
hard to see
the
a
difficult
clear
thing.
and obvious error.
Well, and that's just it. Is the goal
Yeah.
was called the goal on pitch, right? Now, I mean, let's not argue. It hit Fafa's hand.
Right.
It did. But it looked like it went off his body into his hand first, which means there's no reaction time. It also deflected off an Austin player from the cross to Fafa. It's a tough one. I mean, I get it being overturned. I don't think it was a clear and obvious error based on the angles that we were able to see.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like it felt like there was a lot of speculation in that call, and that's not what the purpose is for. So it's a tough one because I I believe that ultimately the right call was made. It was just done the wrong way. If that makes
Yeah.
any sense, right? So it's a tough one. I get being hard done by, but where I think that they were really hard done by
Yes,
is the penalty shot when Fafa Picault was brought down.
Yeah, and at first glance it looked soft, but once you saw the replay, Fafa Pico was essentially clipped from behind, and that looked like a clear penalty, but the referee.
Well, there was a lot of people that
said,
were arguing it was shoulder to shoulder. It was shoulder to shoulder.
Oh,
He got slew-footed.
Yeah,
He came in behind, took his leg right out from underneath him, like with a sweep. In my mind, like that was stone cold, one of the easiest penalties you could ever call. The fact that they went to the monitor and did not call it. I don't know if you were watching Extra Time on Apple after the game. Unanimous, it should have been a penalty.
Yeah, Andrew Weeby pretty much said, yeah, that should have been a penalty. And then Sarita Patel put out a video yesterday.
Yes, which is probably the most damning angle of all of them.
Yeah, and I don't know. If you don't think that's a penalty, I don't know what to tell you.
At that point, it's just I don't feel like I have anything to teach you because I don't think you have an ability to learn.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's they had to carry on with that because, as both Gold and Sartini said after the game, it is what it is. You can't really do anything about it,
and that's true.
And unfortunately,
you know what? I wonder how much of Vanni Sartini's between season reflection played on the calmness.
It played massive, yeah. Yeah, and I guess he doesn't want to get suspended and fined again, which is fair.
There's no point to it, right? I mean, yes, you can be angry behind the scenes. You can, make your calls to figure out what happened, why did it happen. But to air it in public, you're never going to win.
Yeah.
You're not. You could be completely in the right. That doesn't matter. You can't air that stuff out in public. So, yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm okay with the more kind of philosophical or pragmatic.
But pretty much Vanni preached. And like the way they played was very, I mean, it was attractive football, just couldn't get a goal. Well, they did get one, but obviously it didn't count.
And that's been the difficulty at home so far. At home has been very, very tough. And that's something that the Whitecaps are going to need to figure out. They need to figure out how to get past a low block. And you see that with them taking shots much earlier, so they don't have to try and cross in there. You see a lot of cutting inside, shots at the top, at the kind of the edge of the 18-yard box. But those are difficult, right? You're adding a margin of difficulty because you're not getting in close. Whitecaps have always been a team that just loads in crosses as well. I think last year they're either the top or top three for putting balls into the box from out wide.
I think they were top three.
I think they were top. Yeah,
they might have been number one.
We know how they like to play. How teams are lining up defensively, it's forcing the Whitecaps to play a different way, and they are. It's not clicking yet. It does
especially with the low block, because Austin almost had the entire team in the box.
That's just it, right? It feels like all 10 outfield players plus everyone from the bench is standing, within 10 yards of one another.
Yeah, and it's all about finding those little areas of space against a low block. And when the Whitecaps did, unfortunately, they couldn't convert. That's the most
Well,
frustrating part.
you can find space, but you're going to find it space in between guys. You're not going to find space behind the line.
Yeah,
It doesn't exist. So that's the tough thing. And at that point, you're not playing against one goalkeeper. You're playing against one goalkeeper and whatever their back line is too.
one goalkeeper plus 10 outfielders, pretty much.
Exactly, right? And they're all in a row lined up. It's like a wall in a free kick.
Yeah, and even the second half, like, you got to give credits to Ryan Raposo for coming on for the injured Sam Adekugbe, which really sucks because that was the same calf, I believe, he sustained months ago.
He last check on Adekugbe, he was out for a bit. He's had a scan on it, but right now they're saying that it's even questionable that he's back for the second leg of the
I doubt he will.
Game, right? At that point, you got to wonder if he's even available for Miami on the 25th. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's a tough one. It's my hope is that this doesn't become a recurring thing. And it's tough because I mean, Adekugbe took a shot, and that was enough.
To tweak his calf.
Yeah, no one did anything to him. It was just he took a shot, and something didn't feel right. So, which is a tough one. But I agree with you. I think Raposo came on. He looked fresh, and he was again a creative presence. Right? He does. He's really taken over the past number of years to that wide back or that wing back role very well.
Yeah. And it's just making those runs, just crossing it, like being that creator from the right side. Like, again, that's what he does best, cutting in and creating. And
he's a good crosser, but I also like when he plays on the left and is able to cut inside and actually take shots off his right foot at the edge of the 18-yard box, which you got to think with a low block might be what you want.
Yeah. Whitecaps were winning corners mainly thanks to him. And unfortunately, they couldn't get anything done on those corners, which I guess that's something to be worked on. But should also mention again, Fafa Pico was all over the place with his speed, and that's the thing. Like, him in 1v1s, that's what he excels at.
He's also he's that guy you love to have on your team. He is the guy you hate on any other team, right?
Yeah.
Like he's got that he gets under people's skin, right? And he draws fouls. He is very, very good at that. Again, I'm happy he's on my team. If he was on any other team, I'd be complaining incessantly about him. So I think he's been really, really fresh. I think he's been a great experienced player for the Whitecaps to bring up. I think that there's a number of players on the Whitecaps, including some that have been with the Whitecaps for a number of years already. He's a guy that he's got a lot to teach, right?
Yeah, I think he's the best when it comes to 1v1s on that team. And it's a shame that Damir Kreilach wasn't available because he has an ankle injury, because that was the type of game he was needed.
It was. Kreilach was brought in. Ultimately, Kreilach wasn't brought in to be a starter, right? He knows what his role is now. His role is to come in for the last 20 minutes, last 30 minutes, if they need a guy with a lot of strength up front that, has a good ball control, right? He doesn't have the pace really to start games. He's going to get a run. But you bring him in when the game has slowed a bit, he can do his job. Yeah, it's I don't know how long he's out for. Hopefully it's not too bad. But yeah, he's a guy that, if he's on the bench, he definitely adds something.
Yeah, but nothing much more to say about this game other than they did everything right except score. Yeah, the VAR calls weren't the greatest, but lots to be encouraged by. But again, frustrating they couldn't score. So last night,
this is just before we go, I just want to say, this is the game where you realize that it's a battle of attrition, right? It's a long season. You're going to have games like this. We're going to have games like this in the future. The idea or the hope is that it evens out in the end.
Yeah, it gets better.
All right.
Going forward. So last night, Cavalry FC in Calgary for the Canadian Championship quarterfinal first leg, a 2-1 win for the Whitecaps. So it's advantage them after the first leg. And it was a slow start, mainly because it was a heavily rotated side, especially considering that some of these players haven't played as much and the passes were off, the touches were off. But as the game went on, they got better, and that started with Levante Johnson's absolute screamer before halftime.
Yeah, Levante Johnson's shot at almost a last gasp at the end of the first half. I mean, goal of the tournament so far, right? It's going to take a lot to beat that, but it was two players. It was Levante Johnson, and it was I believe it was Matthias Laborda.
Yeah, that was
Laborda being very, very smart on the free kick to take it as quick as he did, right? He didn't let anyone set up, put the ball in deep to try and get players further up and to catch a few players out of position, which he did. Now, it forced Cavalry into a very, very poor clearance, right?
right.
Levante Johnson capitalized on it. He jumped on the loose clearance, and I mean, I didn't know where that shot came from, but when something like that happens, you just gotta sit back and clap. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Johnson was
that, I mean, how it goes into the net, off the inside of the far post and then bounces right across the face into the netting on the other side. I mean, those goals just look nice.
Yeah, those are aesthetically pleasing goals.
Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance, check it out. It's making the rounds on Twitter. It's in my article of the post game last night. Beautiful, beautiful goal.
Yeah, just an absolutely stunning goal. Yeah. And Johnson had two. The second one, again, that same defender, forgot his name, loses the ball. Yeah, Montgomery. And then Johnson just slides it past the Cavalry goalkeeper. Not a screamer this time, but just one that's really well taken.
Yeah, it's funny because we didn't really notice Johnson other than those two goals. So the thing is, you could argue is there was a number of players you didn't notice for long patches of time. I chalk it up to the fact that it was such a heavily rotated squad. There were 8 changes to the starting 11 from the game against Austin on the weekend. 8 changes, right?
Right.
What I did like is they had 5 Canadians in this lineup. I think you only need 3 in your starting 11 for Canadian Championship, but they put in 5, which is nice. I mean, you got Ahmed and Raposo, guys that have been around, guys that you expect. I mean, they play MLS all the time. Ralph Priso, Isaac Boehmer, and Levante Johnson. Johnson we've already talked about. I think he did very well. I think there are still holes in his game.
Yep.
But the one thing I do rate about Johnson, well, first of all, his speed. We already know that he's one of the fastest guys in the team.
Skill.
His intelligence.
Yep, intelligence.
He's a very intelligent player. He knows where to be beforehand, right?
Yeah, like that second goal.
He's very good at reading the game. And I'm hoping that, for as young as he is, that's only going to increase. My hope that he becomes a very high caliber player in MLS. He's got a very high ceiling. I'll put it there. He's got a long way to go and get there, but it's up to him if he wants it, right? That's the only thing standing in his way will be him. He has the ability to do it. In terms of Isaac Boehmer,
decent, very good.
Decent. I thought he did all right. I think we can talk about the goal that Cavalry got at the very end. I think he was a little bit surprised by it, but I don't think he was the only one. The fact that the name of the player is escaping me. Malcolm Shaw.
Yeah, Malcolm Shaw.
Who found space to cut in between Utvik and Veselinovic, who had come on as a late substitution. Those are 2 experienced center backs, and they allowed this guy to cut right in between them. It was the 93rd minute, and I think more than a few players in the Whitecaps thought, we're 2 up on away goals. We're good. And they
took the foot off the gas
just that second, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't think Isaac Boehmer, I think, was relying. He's like, no, my defense can do the job.
Yeah.
So when he got through and he got that pass from Lucas Diaz, I don't think Bomer was ready, and he ended up getting beat as the ball came off his left, underneath his left side. He couldn't get down far enough and went into the far side of the goal. So
Yeah.
a little bit of a tough one there, but I think overall on the night, Bomer okay. Ralph Priso.
Not very good night for him, especially in that first half where he was turning the ball over. His touches weren't very good. Almost had an own goal too. Like
Yeah.
he tried to pass back to Bomer, but thank goodness Matias Laborda was there to prevent it from going in, because I don't think Bomer was ready for that.
Well, I can't figure out if he was trying to back pass to Isaac Bomer or if he was trying to back pass to Matias Laborda. It kind of was in between the two of them, and it was bouncing. Like, it was bouncing quite a bit.
Yeah, the turf, I mean, not turf, the pitch in Calgary, since it was wet, wasn't the greatest.
It was cold. I checked. I think Calgary was only about 5 or 6 degrees. It was wet. And the wind, and I was actually talking with a fan throughout the game on Twitter, and he says, okay, whatever you're seeing on TV, and the TV was bad, you could actually hear the wind whipping past the mic of the camera.
Yep.
He's like, it is 10 times worse here in real life. Like, the wind was huge. And you also got to remember that Calgary, what was it, about 3 or 4 days ago, just had snow.
They did, yep.
So, I mean, they're still recovering. I mean, the pitch would have obviously have been cleared because, they were playing on the weekend, but I mean, it's Calgary and it's May. I grew up in Alberta. Yes, I grew up a more or further north than Calgary, but I mean, May in Alberta, winter's not done yet.
Nope. Yeah, and back to Priso. I mean, it's early days.
Yep.
But he still hasn't really done anything to impress me, or I guess anyone else.
I'm happy he got the start. I think we needed to see him get a start.
I agree with that.
But what I will say is I don't think this lineup did him any service by pairing him with Berhalter, who also didn't have his greatest game.
Yeah. I mean, this season, Berhalter, not the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, the tough thing with
Maybe it's
Berhalter
because he hasn't played.
Well, he comes off as, late subs, but when he gets starts, he's out in the wing, which is not a comfortable place for him, right? He hasn't really started as a 6 where he normally plays. So I don't know if it's just rust. I'm not too sure.
I think that might be it. Because we've seen he's actually a very calm and intelligent player.
I think he's a great player. I think he is a true player committed to the squad, right? He will do whatever role is given to him, for better or worse, right?
Right.
But yeah, going back to Priso, poor first touches. He basically giving up the ball because he would receive it and it would bounce off his foot right into someone else. They didn't even have to intercept or press him. The bad back pass, it seemed like a guy who was just picked up a day ago and was thrown in to start on his very first day, right?
Yeah.
This is his first start. He just he was not comfortable out there. I'm hoping that is the benchmark. We now know where he needs to improve from, and he will. I think a lot of the knee-jerk reaction that's out there of he's got to go, he's horrible, whatnot. No. It's 45 minutes, guys. It's 45 minutes.
45
yes,
minutes.
I know he's had a couple of he's come on for a few
cameos.
I don't count those. That's just game management, finishing off a game. This was the test. Yeah, he didn't really pass it. But we're going to give him another chance, right? He's got to have another chance. My hope is that this is not and I'm trying to remember the Canadian center back of last year who only got a 45 minutes.
Yeah. Who's now with Rhode Island.
That's right. I'm hoping it's not going to be like that. The other thing is Ralph Priso throughout MLS has been a very highly rated guy. He was hugely rated in Toronto. Unfortunately, injury derailed him. Horrible injury. But the Whitecaps were still on him, as were a number of other teams. He ends up going to Colorado. Whitecaps think, all right, it's done. We're not going to get him. When Colorado puts him up and brings
Whitecaps get him.
Whitecaps got him on the cheap. right? It didn't cost a lot of GAM. But I was talking to a reporter in Colorado about Priso, and the general consensus on him is that he is a very athletic guy. He gets lost on the pitch.
I think that's a great way to describe
Right?
45 minutes last night.
Yeah. Like, he's a very athletic guy. And the thing is, I'm hoping that that lack of footballing intelligence right now is coming back from a bad injury. He's been start, stop. He hasn't gotten a run of games. He just needs time. Honestly, he's a guy I'd put in Whitecaps too and just say, go play for a month. Get a month of starts.
But given the amount of games in May and potentially June, he's going to need a run with the first team.
He's going to get a run with the first team in May. I mean, this is the first game out of what, 9 in this month?
Yeah.
He's going to play more games this month. I guarantee it. Just because, well, the roster says he has to.
Yeah, and this is just a start, and hopefully this is just growing pains for Ralph.
That's my hope too.
Yeah, and in the second half, throughout the game, Whitecaps controlled the ball, and a lot of creativity from the other Canadian, Ali Ahmed, and from another Canadian, Ryan Raposo. Like, Ali Ahmed starting to look more like himself. Kind of
if it wasn't for
Levante
Devontae Johnson's second goal, I would have said man of the match was Ali Ahmed.
Yeah,
even with Johnson having the first goal, I would have said Ahmed, because what Ahmed was doing down that entire left-hand side was just dictating the game. Johnson getting a brace, being the only 2 goals for the team, it's tough to assign it to anyone else at that point. But Ali Ahmed, I mean, what that player gives you game in, game out is consistent, and it's at a high level.
Yeah. And when I say he was quiet the last few games, I don't mean he was bad. He just impactful.
That's the problem is he's given us such a treat to watch that when he plays okay, we're like, oh man, Ahmed, you're off. We're like, no, like he's still pretty good.
Yeah, that goes to show that the bar is high for him.
So high for him.
Yeah, and just crossing, passing, like doing what he does best.
Yeah, and I agree with you with Ryan Raposo. I thought he had a decent game down the right as well.
Yeah, and I mean they got the win, which is good, and leg 2 is in about 2 weeks at BC Place. So
man, it would have been nice to keep that clean sheet though.
Yeah. So
last minute.
More pressure now.
Yeah.
In leg 2 to just try to finish off Calgary to move on to the next round. So Whitecaps are back in MLS play this Saturday, and it's off to the City of Angels to face LAFC.
The team that we faced off 6 times last year in various competitions.
Yeah. And it feels like we're facing them even more.
LAFC is sitting in 7th right now. They kind of had to work their way up. They hadn't been doing well, but you also got to remember they just lost 3-1 to, of all teams, San Jose.
That game was being played at Levi's Stadium, and Danny Bouanga did score in that game, but on his own net.
I mean, in the last 6 games, they've won 1.
Yeah, and that was against Portland.
Yeah.
A lot of draws in this one.
No, sorry. It was against it was the El Clasico or El Trafico, right? It was
actually.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about LAFC because Whitecaps had problems with them last year, right?
Yeah.
They go out. I mean, LAFC, again, star power. They can bring in whoever they want, but they go out and get a fantastic goalkeeper to replace a fantastic goalkeeper. And I don't know if it's really worked out for them all that well. I mean, they are bleeding goals.
Yeah.
19 goals against in 11 matches. That's not a top 3 team in the West.
Yeah, I guess maybe losing Chiellini hurts a bit more, but I mean, like the defending in the San Jose game, not the greatest.
No, they've slowly clawed their way back because in the first couple of games they were sitting in 12th or something like that. They've moved them, but again, this last month has not done them any favors. I don't know. I don't know what team the Whitecaps are going to see on the weekend. Let's put it that way.
Are we going to see the dynamic LAFC that we're used to seeing, or to see the team that's in a kind of a funk? And by the way, LAFC will play a cup match tonight against Las Vegas Lights FC.
Side note on the U.S. Open Cup, we're getting a few of the actual MLS teams playing. Houston Dynamo, defending champions, kicked out.
Yeah, not a good look.
They were kicked out by a USL team too.
Yeah. So again, magic of the cup.
Yep. And again, why MLS teams should be playing in the Open Cup.
Because of stuff.
Because, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird seeing LAFC not at or near the top of the Western Conference at this point. I'm sure they'll figure it out, we
can say the same thing about Seattle too, right? Like it's been a weird, it's a strange table in general when it comes to the Western Conference. I think
LAFC will figure it out, especially with Giroux coming.
Yeah, that's true. But I want the Whitecaps to take it to them. Do you remember that one game? It was the first game where they just tried to put Ryan Gauld on wingback.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
And that was last year in LAFC. It was the first time that they actually made that switch to wingbacks and a back three. And they won what? It was like
3-2.
3-1, 4-1.
3-2, I believe.
3-2, was that it? Okay.
That was probably
Gauld had a goal and a couple assists, I think. And that's when he said, he's like, maybe I've been playing the wrong position all my life, right? I think that this is a team for the taking, but they're gonna have to be on top of their game.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be Edgar, shout out from the News Across the Galaxy podcast with a comment here saying, you gotta remember that LAFC beat Galaxy due to a shoddy officiating a blown VAR call, which I totally forgot about. Thank you, Edgar.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues when it came out to Galaxy. Yeah, shout out to Edgar. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that will be tired because they got less rest than the Whitecaps. I think the Whitecaps also will be a bit tired from the Cavalry game, but this is a team that's not in the greatest form.
No,
gotta go for the kill here.
And in fact, on top of that, the Whitecaps road record this year.
Exactly,
right? They have not lost on the road.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna take a look at how LAFC have done at home. I mean, they've been better at home than on the road. I don't think LAFC have lost.
Expect from most teams. I think the Whitecaps are the anomaly when it comes to this.
Yeah, LAFC have not lost a game at home. All their losses have been on the road.
Fair enough.
So, just go for the win. Just do the things they're supposed to do. And, of course, put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I know. This is, that the game against Austin was the first game that the Whitecaps had not scored a goal. And I think, I also think, and I think this was Sarita Patel who put this out, is that the Whitecaps were the last team in MLS to have a goalless game, or to have no goal scored in the game that they
to get shut out.
Yeah. So hey, being the last person standing to do that, it's not bad. It's gonna happen sometime, but now you got to find a way to
not bad.
Yeah.
Especially against this LAFC side, and of course, try to maintain Danny Bouanga. Because we don't know how that guy is.
I mean, he runs riots on any defense, but try as you can. Take him out of the game, and it's a
another comment from Edgar. Also, Edgar says, when I've asked LAFC fans about Hugo Lloris, they say he will make fantastic saves, but LAFC has issues on defense, and they leave him exposed. And on some occasion, you can really see his age. Again, thank you, Edgar, for that.
Sounds when I used to watch him with Spurs a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Another reason why the Whitecaps should.
Yeah. Wait and see. That game
the Whitecaps should go for the win.
The game's Saturday 7:30 our time.
Yeah, and then Wednesday for the Whitecaps, it's off to Colorado and the altitude. Ralph Priso makes his return to Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And Colorado is a team that's done better this season than
We're
last
tied
season.
with Whitecaps in points right now.
Yeah, I mean, having those new acquisitions help.
Yeah.
5-3-3, 18 points. Colorado, 2-1 loss to Cincinnati away. I mean, it's Cincinnati. You can't really
Yeah. They were.
fault them.
I
But
mean, that was
the week
last
before,
year.
though. No, sorry. That was the week before. Last game was a 2-0 win against NYC away.
Right.
Zach Steffen and Jordy Mihalovic, off-season acquisitions for them. They've done well, but Moise Bombito has really improved this season.
Yes. Yeah.
Canadian
Which is great
national.
for Canadians, right? And
I mean,
Canadian men's national team.
I mentioned it a few weeks ago, but I've seen that clip where he ran pretty much the entire length of the pitch at this high speed.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It's kind of funny that we're seeing some of the fastest players in various leagues be center backs.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to believe that guy's a center back if you watch that video.
I know. Well, I mean, you think of English Premier League and Mickey Van de Ven, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's a thing. It's not a position I would think where speed is of the utmost importance, but hey, why not?
Why not? And Bombito's scoring goals. He has 2 already. Both headers off set pieces.
Yeah.
And for Whitecaps fans, you got to cheer against him on that day and make sure he doesn't do his thing. But
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
good for the Canadian program to see a player like that just improve, because during the Gold Cup last year, he wasn't the greatest.
No, I mean, again, the Gold Cup was a heavily rotated squad as well because we changed a lot with that one. But yeah, it was not the best introduction for a lot of individuals to Bombito. So happy to see that he's doing well. Hope it doesn't happen this weekend. All right, we got a poll question out.
Yeah. So before we wrap up the Whitecaps talk, what has impressed you so far about the season so far? The options were defensive structure, road wins mentality, or something else. 24 votes, 42% say road wins, 38% say defensive structure, 17 say mentality, and only 4% said something else.
I said defensive structure, so I guess I'm in the second category.
Same with me, but you can't go
Road
wrong with
wins are
either
impressive,
answer.
but for me, road wins is because of the defensive
Exactly.
structure.
That's why I picked it.
Without that, the road wins are nothing, right? The fact that the Whitecaps are averaging less than a goal a game against has been phenomenal. I think Matthias Laborda has finally found his home in that back three. I think Udvik has slotted in just sublimely, right? Like he can go in there, he can do his job. He's no fuss. Takioka is seems more comfortable. I think he's got clean sheets in 40% of all Whitecaps
I
games.
think
so far.
Takaoka is tied among the most clean sheets in the league.
Yeah,
I saw something like that a few days ago.
and it's that if you and we said this last year, both you and I, is that if you want to improve the number of goals against for the Whitecaps, it's not goalkeeping you need to change. It was the defense, right? The return on investment for goalkeepers, you would have to go out and just spend absolute gobs of money to find even just a little bit of improvement of someone like Takioka. Goalkeepers, it's such a specialized position. They don't just grow out there where you can just put anyone there, right? Improving defense is much easier. It's a better return on the investment, and they're showing that, right? They went out, they got 2 center backs. One is starting caliber, and he's been playing more and more and more as the weeks go by. And one of the guys they got last year has just improved. So for me, it's defensive structure because that fuels everything else.
And I know many people are fans of the zonal marking system. I'm not either.
No.
But they're showing this year that when it works, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, they still had these weird moments, nervy moments where they turned off, but for the most part, defense has done the job.
Zonal marking looks beautiful when it works. When one person shuts their brain off, it's a house of cards.
That's pretty much
Um,
the flaw of it.
yeah. I don't have anything else to say other than that. I mean, the thing is maybe it's Vanni Sartini being Italian and the Italian, just the general philosophy of the game and the love of a very, very strong defensive structure. But he's done well to get his message across, and I think people have bought into it.
Right, and that'll be the Whitecaps talk for this episode. Quick thing, the other Canadian Championship match that happened yesterday, Forge and CF Montreal drew 1-1. This game was being played at 11 a.m. on a weekday, but Forge were very creative with this.
Yeah.
They invited a bunch of school kids out to the game, just for a field trip, get out of the classroom, and to fill up a bunch of seats, and you could hear those kids.
They had over 14,000 fans. I think it was their second best attendance ever is what I saw. I was asking my daughter, because I was talking about they had this game. It was like 11 in the afternoon or in the morning. I was asking my daughter about this. She's like, I'd love to go. Like, she's like, I would totally do that. It's a school trip. No, I don't know, maybe it's just her wanting to miss school for all I know, but she thought it was a great idea, so who knows. Maybe it'll catch on.
That's a great idea for a field trip. And those kids, I mean, they were enjoying themselves. I don't think all of them were fans of soccer, but you can hear them screaming, yelling.
The thing is with all those kids you brought in, and it was thousands of kids. Like, did you see the map of the stadium and like where all the kids were going to be sitting? Like, it was a good almost 3/4 of the stadium.
Yeah,
that is potential lifelong fans.
I think they Forge gained at least a dozen lifelong fans from yesterday. And the game itself, I mean, pretty evenly matched games. Both teams had 16 shots. Montreal looked very shaky defensively in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, Montreal also does the same thing that Whitecaps do. It's going to be a much rotated squad. So
yeah, but Montreal got better as the half went on, and it was Chouanière, not the Montreal Chouanière, his older brother.
Yeah.
I believe Daniel Chouanière got the first goal, and then Montreal tied it up later in the second half from Bryce Duke.
Yeah. Again, they're going to have to do it back when they go back to Montreal. So, I think Montreal will. Well, I think Montreal will do the job, but I think Forge is definitely a team that could cause an MLS upset, right?
Remember, this is
Forge is an informed team.
This is one of the best teams in the CPL, if not the best.
I think right now they're the top or second.
I think they are.
The league is still, they won't know 4 or 5 games into the season, but they're in the top.
Yep, and two more Canadian Championship games.
Toronto and Saint Laurent today.
League on Quebec.
Yeah.
Who upset Halifax Wanderers in the preliminary round.
Yeah.
And Atletico Ottawa and Pacific.
Yeah. Ottawa's flying as well, but Pacific is no slouch.
Very good defensive team.
Champion. You expect Toronto to do the job. I think it is a great story that Ligue 1 Quebec is represented, or that any League One team throughout Canada is represented in the quarterfinal. I think that's phenomenal. I think that is what this tournament does, is give teams that opportunity to punch above their weight, give fans the ability to be exposed to these teams where they might actually start, going to their regular games. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely exactly why these sort of things exist. And I think that's why I'd say U.S. soccer is failing their fans, MLS in particular.
And shout out to TSS Rollers also.
Toronto will get it done. I'm going to say Ottawa.
Yeah, I'm going with Ottawa too. But I think it'll be tight.
Ottawa did some very, very smart building in the offseason. I think they're the team to. I think they're the team of the CPL this year.
Yeah,
they're going to be a very, very tough team to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of like local talent, like TSS Rovers nearly pulled off the upset in the preliminary round against Pacific, but ended up losing on penalties. Just minutes away before giving up the tying goal late. Speaking of the CPL and Pacific, Pacific apparently signed an agreement with a German club called VfL Bochum 1848.
Yeah. So they're in the Bundesliga, right? It's the top. So think of like what Atletico Madrid has with Atletico Ottawa, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Bochum is not a team that's going to be forming partnerships with like the other big clubs around the world. They have to be smart with their partnerships, with their scouting and development. And they've actually come out and said, we've been watching the Canadian League since it's been around. Like this is something that we're paying attention to. What this does is it creates an interesting pipeline, right? It's an avenue for Canadian players to get into the European system. It's a way for German developed players to come to Canada for a few years, right? It's these sort of partnerships. I mean, this is what happens in all sport. I mean, hockey is the same way with farm teams and whatnot. But when it comes to, these sort of partnerships in football, there's a lot of upside to this for Pacific. I think it's very, very good. I think it's something that's probably been in the works for quite a while. But very, very happy. I'm curious to see where it'll go.
I mean, this is great for growth for Pacific and potentially lead to CPL to Europe pipelines.
Yeah. Other thing we should mention, was it Simpson, part owner of Pacific. I think he's involved with the Vancouver FC club as well. Or is it just Rob Friend?
I think he and Rob Friend. It's Rob Friend in Vancouver.
Yeah, because Vancouver FC, they're going to be doing an announcement later today with the CPL commissioner in Kelowna. Rumor is that it's going to be a friendly match that's going to be played in Kelowna, or at least what they call like a summer series. It's going to be between Vancouver and I can't remember who the other team is.
It's Cavalry, I think. That's
Cavalry, CPL
what
team.
I heard too.
Kelowna's been long rumored as a potential site of CPL expansion.
And right? I feel like this is just a test of waters.
It is the test. It is.
Yeah.
The one thing that surprises me about this is that the province of BC could get a third CPL team before the province of Quebec gets one.
Yeah.
Right? I'm all for expansion, but it feels very weird that a professional sports league is expanding faster in the West than the East.
Yeah, and St. Laurent's upset over Pacific is proof that there's talent in Quebec.
Well, Quebec City is screaming for a team.
Right.
There would be a great place to put a team. I also look is New Brunswick and Moncton. Moncton was the site of one of the sites for the Women's World Cup when Canada hosted it. Good place to put a team. There are a lot of places to put teams. Windsor has been working with the former CPL commissioner about getting a team in there, right? Like the expansion's already kind of fueled. It's just a matter of getting it to work. I think this is great for Kelowna. I think it's fantastic to put a team in the interior. I think it's great that there's possibly 3 teams in BC. Just soccer in BC has grown. You can see what the growth of League One BC has done. Yeah. And what eventually having a professional women's team will do with Whitecaps and having more growth there. And I think it's a good time to get at the ground level.
Yeah, more and more youth, like kids and teens, are playing soccer than ever. So, and this just adds to it. All right, so moving over to Europe. I don't know where this Chelsea team came from over the past few weeks. I mean, where was this all season? But 2 complete performances in a row. I'm not going to talk too much about the Tottenham game.
I was going to say, you talk about it all you want. I don't want to.
I guess that was pretty much why. I'm just going to show a bit of mercy. But again, complete performance. Everyone did their job. Cole Palmer again on the goal front. He was just named actually Chelsea's Men's Player of the Year. I mean, who else would it be, right?
Yeah.
And Nicholas Jackson also got on the board as well. I mean, pretty much no, that wasn't Palmer. It was Trevor Chalobah who got a header on the free kick. I believe it was from Conor Gallagher, but Palmer did pretty well in that game as well. So the double over Tottenham in a pretty bad season, I guess that's something. And
take the wins where you can find them, right?
Exactly. Just take the wins. Everyone did the job. Caicedo looked great. I guess the only one who didn't was Mudryk, because he had some moments where you're like, oh, he needs to do this better. He needs to do that better. Oh, why did he shoot there? Again, it's the intelligence that has been plaguing him so much. But over the weekend, 5-0 thrashing over West Ham, who are changing managers, as David Moyes has parted ways with mutual consent, and they're hiring former Sevilla manager Julian Lopetegui to replace him, and that was pretty.
Right, yeah.
That was a pretty fast hiring.
I feel bad for David Moyes.
Yeah, me too. Again, it was mutual, but he didn't deserve the fall, but he had to take it.
No, I don't think. Yeah, well, we can talk about that later, but I think he should feel a little bit hard done by.
Yeah, I mean, this guy led them to their first trophy in 50 years?
Something like that, yeah.
And again, like, Chelsea were just all over them. I think the best thing that has happened this season, tactically wise, is Marc Cucurella playing more inside, like, or inverted, or on the opposite side.
Right.
Because he was like that at Brighton under Graham Potter. Inverted, so he has more space, room to create. And this is a guy that runs around a lot. And he's almost like a box-to-box midfielder, in a sense. Because when he runs around, he wants the ball so he can create. And well done to Cucurella. Had a tough season last year. Slowly started to figure it out this year. Had injuries. And just Pochettino finally inverting him. Like, good things have happened. Palmer scored. Conor Gallagher scored. And good to see Nani Madueke score. And Nicholas Jackson with a brace. Again, this guy is not a flop. He has 13 goals in the league.
Yeah, 13 goals isn't bad.
If you told me he had 13 by this time last year, I'd be happy. Oh, but he misses big chances. Yeah, that's true. Again, this is a young striker, 22 years old. Or I guess he's 23 now. It's his first season, and the expectation was not for him to be the main guy right away, but to show he can be in the future, and he has done that. Both his goals, finding himself in the right areas, and just sliding in the net. I don't care if they're tap-ins. A goal is a goal. He doesn't have to score screamers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, fair play to Jackson. I don't know. Maybe shaving his head had something to do with it, and maybe all that online backlash probably fueled him, because I think that's like 3 or 4 goals in his last 2 or 3 games. And, I mean, overall, like, Moises Caicedo, too. Like, 3 games in a row where he had masterclasses. Oh, £100 million flop. Well, he just had games where he was all over the place, winning duels, winning possession, making passes. This is the player we signed. And let's not forget, he's 22, or going to be 22. This is a player that is on the verge of becoming a world-class player. Oh, but no Enzo Fernandez. Enzo was holding him back. Again, Enzo wasn't fit, like, for the past 3 months. And having Conor Gallagher in the 10 ruined things. Enzo Fernandez will come back stronger, I'm sure. And big props to Maurizio Pochettino. I know people have been wanting him out. I have too. But past few weeks, he's done a lot of good things. Not just tactically, but man management too. And David Ornstein reported that Chelsea hierarchy, like Todd Bowley, Bedad Bali, they demand Europa League. So top 6 finish, and that could determine if he stays or not, which is fair. Because he was always going to be reassessed at the end of the season, and Europe was going to be a big factor if he wasn't going to stay. And Chelsea sits 7th in the table right now, our highest all season, above Man United because United got thrashed by Crystal Palace, 2 points behind Newcastle for the 6th place spot. So in a Europa Conference League position right now, but Europa League would be better. And
Newcastle's no slouch though, 4 of the last 5 in wins.
Yeah, and Newcastle they have 4 games, so they have a game in hand. Chelsea have 3. Newcastle have Brighton, Man United, Brentford, and Tottenham next. And as for Chelsea, it's Forest, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, and Bournemouth. Winnable games, but
Chelsea has the easier run.
I say we do, but knowing this team this year,
yeah, that doesn't really mean a whole lot, right? That's why I say that with a little bit of hesitation.
And man, Brighton are no slouch too.
Yeah,
taken a step back this year, but still decent side.
Yeah.
And Chelsea have lost to Forest already this season, and drew to Bournemouth. I know that doesn't mean much, but man, you got to win these games. Like, if best case scenario, Chelsea wins all 3 of their games and Newcastle drops points in at least 1, I think they could finish top 6. It's actually a real possibility. Can they do it? I believe they can, but will they do it is a whole nother different story.
Yeah.
But before I end the Chelsea talk, Willian, who is also a Brazilian, Estevão, Brazilian wonder kid, 17 years old, has agreed to terms with Chelsea, according to Fabrizio Romano from Palmeiras. The reported fee is 32 million euros plus add-ons. I don't know much about this player, but the streets are saying he has Endrick level potential, which I'm all for that. And he's a winger too. So that's him and the Ecuadorian wonder kid, Kendry Paez, who is with Independiente DVL, the old club of Vite and Caicedo. And he won't be able to join until next year, Estevão. So we'll watch his career with great interest. And speaking of Brazilians, Thiago Silva will join his boyhood club, Fluminense, starting next season on a 2-year contract.
Give that guy a clap. I mean, what he has done throughout his career. Wow.
I mean, going back to your boyhood club and likely retire, full circle. What a way to ride off.
About that.
What a way to ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after Tottenham lost to Chelsea, what in the world happened against Liverpool?
We put Emerson Royale as a left back.
Why?
Because we have no left backs.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we have no one. Ben Davies is out for the season. Udogie out for the season. This has been a hard end of the season. I think. Okay, well, let's talk about Liverpool first. I mean, the fact that Liverpool goes up 4-0 and Tottenham doesn't really come into the game until the 70th minute and realize, hey, maybe we should start playing this thing is tough. Also, Liverpool was a team that you could kind of take a little bit. They're a bit of a wounded animal. Apparently, there's fighting in their ranks. They haven't done the greatest leading in. They've kind of fallen off the race for the top. They're out of that. You could have done some damage here. They didn't even try. Yes, I
not until the 70th minute, though.
Not until the 70th minute, where Richarlison comes in and does phenomenally. Although he is a player that looks like he's one step out. And then Son, our leading goal scorer this year, doing something, but just not. There's a number of issues with Tottenham right now. One, this is not the squad that Postecoglou needs to play his way. right? He hasn't had time to make the change. It sounds like he's going to be given a very long rope this summer. It sounds like he's going to be given about 200 million pounds to build what he wants. And it looks like a number of players are on their way out as a result. 200 million is great. It also looks like that transfer, purse could grow because it looks like Richarlison is going to be out as well. There's a number of clubs that are still interested in Richarlison, especially in Saudi Arabia. And they expect that they can probably get back everything they paid for him, even a little bit more. Rumor is that they might be able to get about 60 million euros. Sorry, not euros, pounds for him.
Still quite a bit of money.
By sending him to the Middle East, which if you can do that, you take it. They need an out-and-out striker. They already know that. Apparently, they actually also made another offer for Fulham center back Tosin Adara Bayoyu to join in the offseason. It looked like it was turned down, but it's an opening offer. We'll see what happens. I know there's also interest from Manchester United for the player. So it'll be interesting to see. Tottenham, this is a player they've been after for now a while. They actually made a number of inquiries into him in the offseason last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with there. Transfer rumors are really heating up when it comes to Tottenham. I think that this has the potential to be a much, much changed squad.
Or like a revamped squad. Yeah, I agree.
Kind of, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The other issue is Postecoglou as well. Postecoglou came into this team and did phenomenal. 3 Manager of the Month awards to begin his tenure. And then everyone thought he was the second coming. You knew this was going to be a project. I think if any Tottenham fan was told you're going to finish 5th, and they were told this at the beginning of the season, they would have taken it. The tough thing is in the manner that it's happened. So you're getting a lot of people that are like, get rid of him. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's out of his depth. I'm like, no, just hold the brakes for a second. This is a
transition year.
It's a transition year. You knew it was going to be tough. You got treated with the first 3 months over what happened, thinking you're going to run away with everything. And then you go Phil and you crash back down to earth. This is where you should expect to be. The manner in which it happened is a little bit strange.
Plus, he's never gotten the squad he's wanted.
He never had the squad he's wanted. But part of this is on Postecoglou as well. He is too rigid in how he plays, which is weird to say for a guy that wants to be all attack and fluid and, push as far forward as possible. But he needs to adapt somewhat to the team that he's playing. And he doesn't do that yet. I get it. Some teams never have to do that. If you're Manchester City, you dictate how everyone plays because you're Manchester City. That's not Tottenham yet. They don't have the squad to be able to do that. So you have to be able to be lenient in how you set up your squad. I hope that Tottenham one day gets to dictate every single match that they are in. They're not there yet. Right now, Tottenham has to say that Champions League is done. You're not going to get into the Champions League. Yes, I get it. Aston Villa is hiccuping as much as Tottenham is. It seems like both are going to be kind of just crawling over the finish line. Yeah. But Aston Villa got there a little bit earlier. So, the fact that we're not winning is helping them. Europa League is something. The fact that we weren't in Europe at all this season, to be in Europe is something.
I think you take that.
I think you take it. I think you take it. You're happy you got it. And now you build in the summer and you do it smartly. And you hold the manager and the players that come in accountable in this next season. So that's the way I see it right now. The other thing I want to mention is not really a Tottenham story anymore, but I mean, he's always, Spurs in our hearts, is Harry Kane. He is now the second fastest player in the world to reach 400 career goals, did it in 631 games. 2 games faster than Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only one who ever did it faster than him is Lionel Messi, who did it in 525
I mean,
games.
Harry Kane's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I think everyone really realizes he's an elite striker. He's
Always
never
was.
really been given the world-class title.
Oh,
Like,
really?
no, he never really has. Which I think is
Kind of damning given the amount of goals he scored.
exactly not only that, but where he's gotten those goals, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact of what he's been able to do with Tottenham, being the guy, is kind of tough. So I really, really hope that he ends up getting his trophy in the Champions League. We'll have to wait and see. It'll be really interesting if it ends up to be, Harry Kane with Bayern, and say Marco Reus with Dortmund. 2 guys that, it seems to be it's tough for them. So it's going to see which curse gets broken.
Yep. So
Yeah.
more on that later. Quickly here. So this is weird. But from the championship, Hull manager Liam Rosenior, I think, he got sacked, but he's shortlisted for championship manager of the year, which is awkward.
Hull City basically went up to him and said, "Playoffs are bust." Well, they just didn't make it.
Yeah,
But
4-1
I
loss to
think it's
Plymouth
still pretty
Argyle.
hard. The fact that he was able to do with Hull what he did, I think
Yeah.
it should have bought him another year, or at least bought him going through an off season into another year because
Yeah.
he showed a progression. Yeah, it's kind of weird that you're shortlisted for manager of the year and then you get fired. What an oxymoronic way to go.
Yep. Speaking of the championship, Canada's first favorite Premier League team, a former Premier League team of Craig Forrest, Ipswich Town, is going up to the Premier League.
Back-to-back promotions.
Yep. I mean, that's impressive.
They got promoted from League One to Championship last year, Championship to the Premier League this year. Good on Ipswich Town.
Yeah, sealed it with a 2-0 win over Huddersfield Town. Shout out to Chelsea Loney and Mari Hutchinson,
Yeah.
who's done the job there.
So that's
Yeah,
2
it's
teams that we know that are going up because Leicester's going to win the league. It's just a
pretty
matter of the
much half.
playoffs.
Yeah, so
Half,
it looks like
half. Yeah.
the playoffs will be Leeds, Southampton, West Brom, Norwich.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of Dortmund off to the Champions League final for the first time since 2013. Ironically, it was played in London. Also, the final will be in London. Done the job against PSG. It helped that PSG couldn't convert their chances. They hit like 4 or 5 posts in the second leg alone. Like Mbappe, Dembele, Vitinha, like Zaire Emery, they just couldn't finish. Mats Hummels, what a player. I mean, I always thought he was an underrated center back. Scored the goal, defended well. Good to see Jadon Sancho, get back to form since leaving Man United.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he really belongs, at Dortmund.
I think a number of players need to get out of Manchester United.
Yeah.
Including the manager.
Ian Matson at left back. One thing I'll slander Pochettino for is not giving him a chance, and it looks like he's doing well at Dortmund. But they'll face Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, will be determined later today. The Champions League final will be Royce's last game for Dortmund. A loyal servant, their captain. Also a player that's been cursed. I mean, just do it for Royce.
The other thing we should mention about Marco Reus, Tom Bogert just posted about 5 minutes ago that apparently he's had preliminary talks with St. Louis City.
Hey, he can join his old pal Roman Berkey.
Yeah, right? I mean,
that would be a dream signing for the Whitecaps.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. But, it's looking like if he comes to MLS, someone has jumped to the front of the list.
Yeah, and the whole discovery rights thing is going to make it.
Yeah, I don't know who holds it, but we'll find out soon.
Yep. So, I'm hoping, I want Dortmund to win the whole thing, just because I don't support a team in another league, but Dortmund has been the closest.
Dortmund, they're
because I always thought they were the team of the working class. I feel like that's
it, right? Yeah. Maybe it's also because Klopp was there for so long, right? But it was like Dortmund does great. Manchester or Bayern Munich pillages Dortmund for players, right?
Yeah,
It
like,
seems like that was every year, right?
I just like the idea of like Dortmund being the team that likes to rise above, even though it's not always successful, but
they
try.
They're fun to watch.
And their fans too.
And
like
crowd. Yeah. I was just about to say the same thing.
So also back to the Premier League, that Nottingham Forest's point deduction has been upheld.
Yeah.
On appeal.
Yeah, basically it was a unanimous decision by the appeal board to uphold the points deduction that Forest was trying to stop. They said Forest trying to argue wording in the thing should never happen. They said you're trying to become lawyers for something that is not legal. It wasn't a legal battle. Like we're not lawyers, we're not judges here. Stop looking at the words and stop trying to poke holes if you're doing to this like a legal amnesty. There's no point. And he's like, it's fine. What was written is comprehensive and extensive. They upheld it unanimously. I get Forest feeling hard done by, especially because of the whole Brendan Johnson trade to Spurs. They got more money than they thought, but you also knew what the date was going in. So, there are hard deadlines, and if you don't meet them, it doesn't matter what you do after the fact. So, yeah, it's tough.
Tough for Forest.
Yep.
Especially a team that didn't deserve that much.
Yeah. Before we move on to our final poll question, I also want to put out a shout out to my non-league team that I follow, Braintree Town.
Braintree.
They got promoted. They're moving from the National League South up to the National League, and they did it the hard way. They had to play 3 playoff games. Every one of their playoff games went to extra time, and they were able to. They didn't have to go to penalties. They were able to win in extra time. But they did it. They are promoted after 5 years back down in the South, back to the National. So good on you.
Well done, Braintree. I think I will become a Braintree fan, and I will follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, they're fun. Pub team from Essex.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll visit Essex. You and I.
If I go, we'll go down there. It's got a different name, but it's the old Cressing Road Stadium. I know they sold their name rights. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head now.
Yeah,
but
so
Cressing Road.
Before we wrap up here, let's talk some hockey. So Canucks Oilers tonight, game 1 of the second round at Rogers Arena. You're wearing your Oilers jersey. If you're watching live, I'm wearing my black Canucks skate jersey. And
it's a good one.
I feel like this is a series that's going to could potentially be a classic. Could be an intense series.
I think so too.
And
I think it's going to be a great series. I think I hate to say it, but I think the only thing that might ruin the series is the fans.
Yeah,
because there's been a lot of stupidity from both sides, which that
both
sides bound to happen. Our poll question out there, who wins the series? Canucks at 76.2%, Oilers at 23.8%. This is a Vancouver podcast. If that said anything different, I would be very, very worried for you guys.
Yeah, and the Oilers are the favorite team.
Yeah,
heavily favored, especially thanks to ESPN. 23 out of the 24 analyst reporters picked the Oilers, except for Ryan S. Clark, who picked the Canucks in 7. And I there's no surprise why the Oilers are the favorite. They got 2 of the best players in the world, deadly off, but the Canucks have goaltending. So, I mean,
as long
I think the series
the Canucks can stay out of the penalty box, they
have
a very good shot at this.
And I think it depends if Elias Pettersson is healthy from his cold. Like he needs to wake up. Like just 3 secondary assists. And will be intrigued to see if either JT Miller or Elias Lindholm matches up against McDavid and Draisaitl. And I know there are Canucks fans saying, "Oh, we beat them 4 times in the regular season." That doesn't mean squat in the playoffs.
You know what's been really funny to me, because Oilers fans have been bringing up the same thing, saying, "Why are we the favorites?" Because they beat us 4 times in the league. It seems like both sets of fans want to be viewed as the underdog. And
I mean,
it's
sure.
I mean, sure, there's the romance of being the underdog and overcoming obstacles and whatnot. But the way I see it is, to me, this is quite even, right? Yeah, the Canucks won all 4 games in the offseason. I think, and the Canucks just had a phenomenal season. They also weren't expected to have the season that they had.
Nope.
Oilers have always kind of been the favorites. Had a horrible beginning of the season. Brought in Knobloch, came back up, ended up being one of the better teams in the league since November. But they had to smarten up, right? And that took some time to do. I think these are different teams than when they first faced off, but they didn't face off that long ago, and the Canucks overcame odds at that point too.
Yeah,
I don't think any of that matters. I don't think any of that matters. I think this is the playoffs, and the playoffs is just a different brand of hockey. I want to say the Oilers will win. I think whoever does win, it's going to be well-deserved.
Yeah, and my heart is set on the Canucks, but my head says the Oilers because of many reasons. Again, goaltending also will be a factor for the Canucks. Demko
goaltending
reportedly not going to be ready until 5 or 6.
Well, first of all, who is going to be the goalkeeper for
starter
Canucks,
tonight?
Right?
I hope I'd like it to be Seelovs because he's just been phenomenal since stepping in.
Done very well.
So I mean, may the best team win.
And it's going to be what version of Stuart Skinner do we get, right? He can do absolutely phenomenal. Right? He's got one of the shutouts in the playoffs, and that's been very rare for goalkeepers to have. So is your goalkeeper. But there's been other games where it just nothing's working for him. So I don't know. First 2 games in Vancouver, tonight. Was it 7:00? I think. Yeah.
Tonight, 7:00 Pacific, and may the best team win, and
may the best team win.
Whoever, and also can.
And I think we